Hi, welcome to What the Flick. And this is a very special, very sexy, super duper spoilery edition of What the Flick.
Spoilers!
In all that is name of pure and right, holy, what? In all, in the name of all that is.
You have been warned.
That too.
We did our job. You've been warned.
In the immortal words
Don't
of George C.
say spoilers.
Scott in Hardcore, turn it off. Turn it off. If you don't want to hear spoilers, because we're doing spoilers. Where to begin? Let's talk about dead people.
Okay, I was gonna say let's talk about CGI Grand Moff Tarkin.
Whoa.
Terrible.
Well,
He's made of rubber now, apparently.
I'll tell you. Yes. I mean,
He's not convincing at all.
He's. I don't know about at all. Like he still dwells in the uncanny valley. But looking at it, I was thinking, this is not this technology has not gotten to where it needs to go. But this is one of the last stops before getting to where it needs to go. Like it's pretty almost there, I thought.
It's almost hologram Grand Moff Tarkin, is he not?
You know, but
He's
here's the
really-
thing: if they could have
Certain
gotten
angles are weird. He looks
they
like a
could have
cartoon.
gotten away with it if they had him via hologram, like the Emperor was in Phantom Menace. You would have had that one veil of unreality, and I would have totally bought it. Or like the first shot we see of Grand Moff Tarkin, he's like in reflection. He's like looking out of a window and you see his reflection. That shot's actually pretty convincing.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of cool. But then he turns around. It's like that opening of Tron Legacy where where young Jeff Bridges is talking to
Looks like an action figure.
That's
yeah.
creepy too.
He's pretty convincing until he turns around and you see him in his face. And it's just like, don't show us the face. It's too obvious.
I mean, but you know, I keep bringing up Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. Like that one actually kind of works. And so,
but that was actually Michael Douglas and all they did was smooth
well,
him out.
right, but that was also Jeff Bridges.
No, I know, but we don't have Peter Cushing.
I
that's why
I
it's a
understand that.
problem.
Okay. He's dead.
Sorry.
Right. No, and
I'll stop.
the Peter Cushing thing. I mean, it's not quite there, but I was impressed with how it could have looked much worse. The larger, of course, ethical implication of putting a dead person in your movie with this having the estate sign off on it.
I was gonna say, who gets royalties on that?
And that
right?
takes us to the creepy Fred Astaire with a vacuum cleaner section. So,
Well, how did you feel about Laurence Olivier and Sky Captain in The World of Tomorrow? Same thing?
Oh God, I've
Remember that?
so forgotten that he was
That
in that.
movie is way more interesting than people give it credit for. It kind of like is a template for a lot of these
Oh
movies,
no!
and like everyone's forgotten.
Yeah, it's the Billy Lynn's long halftime walk
Right.
of green screen technology.
Also, we have CGI Leia. At
yes,
the very end.
that looked worse.
That was strange.
That was
too.
like Princess Leia appears courtesy of Madame Tussauds. Like she was so fakey looking,
She had
especially
clumpy eyelashes. You notice that?
and when
Those look really fake.
and like these weird doll eyes. And then when she speaks, it was just like,
Help. So the thing is, though, the moments leading up to that moment are so cool and so breathless. And we were saying in the other spoiler-free review, like, the pieces falling into place, the dominoes falling is so cool that when you see Leia from the back, when you see the door open and there she is from the back with the hood and the cloak and all that, like you wonder, are we gonna see her? Are we gonna see her? Like Carrie Fisher is like 7 years old at this point. Like, what's gonna happen? And then you do see her, I was like,
yeah.
We didn't need to see her. We
Exactly.
just had
Like
to say
let
the line
her
off
be
camera.
Jesus and Ben-Hur, or the old Ben-Hur.
What's weird for
The
me
back
is-
is plenty.
They're fine with recasting some parts. I mean, we're going to have Alden Ehrenreich as a young Han Solo, for
Right.
example. That's fine. Would it really have people have just said, well, Peter Cushing was in Grand Moff Tarkin, so Grand Moff Tarkin is off the table. He's the worst thing ever. Would it have killed
But
him?
here's the thing, though. Young Han Solo takes place like however many years before the episode 4. This is literally minutes before episode 4 starts that they're dealing with.
So that
you
means we're
know.
stuck with this technology anytime they want to make a Star Wars. We're going to have like a CG Anakin Skywalker, CG Hayden Christensen if they ever want to do a film that takes place like before this.
Oh, God.
Because
Biden.
it feels like we're
did
stuck.
that. They did
trapped.
that at
Well,
the end of Return of the Jedi, right? When Lucas went back in and put in like hologram Hayden Christensen.
Makes no sense. Oh, God.
The other dead people thing I wanted to bring up is I really admire the fact that all of our heroes in this movie die because we don't get that enough in movies. I think that's a thing that needs to happen sometimes for heroism, and like if test audiences don't like it, tough titty. I think letting heroes die in the pursuit of heroism and doing a great thing is awesome. I wish that they had lived before that because I didn't know who any of those people were, so it didn't really resonate that
There's
much.
a moment, one thing that's really cool with the Death Star with this is that you don't just see a planet exploding from afar, you see like nuclear ripples of destruction, and as they gain power and strength, like it's visually kind of devastating.
We got a little of that in Force Awakens too, though, from the planet eye view of
it's
it.
different.
But it's not like It's not like, dangling from a string a piece of styrofoam.
And you saw people kind of helpless. You notice like there's the bit at the end with Jin and Diego Luna's character's name, I forget. It was kind of like the end of Kiss Me. Yeah, it's kind of like the end of Kiss Me Deadly, where like they're all gonna die, but we try to run to the beach anyway. It just makes it that much more pathetic. Like that was cool, but you're right. I don't feel anything for a lot of these characters. We were talking about this in the non-spoiler one, but now we can get into more detail. They're not very well defined.
No.
Look at Riz Ahmed's character. Great actor. He plays an Imperial pilot who at the beginning of the film has been kidnapped by Forrest Whitaker's rebel faction. Why did he leave? What was he getting at? Was he actually a defector? Did he actually just personally know?
Was it a favor for Galen? Yeah.
Is he maybe like Finn in Force Awakens, where he has a change of heart and just decides
Who
to think for
knows?
himself?
No idea. And then he goes through this experience where they're just like, when we go through this experience and we interrogate you, you'll come out mad. Not really.
Yeah,
And
just a
sort of
little
fine.
slow and shaken.
He has no arc. He has no arc to speak of.
Who is
Most
this guy?
people don't in this movie.
When the Rebel Alliance people complain that Saw Gerrera, is that
something like that.
the Forrest Whitaker character?
Sorry if we get it wrong.
That he's an extremist in the rebellion. Like,
Wow.
what's that?
That sounds interesting.
Well, how does that manifest? What does that look like? Don't know. Movie doesn't tell us ever.
Whatever he's done, though, in the extreme, he's lost limbs,
And he has the Frank Booth oxygen mask.
he's kind of like a Morton Joe, a little bit.
A little, but again, who, why,
What do?
what?
How'd that happen?
I thought maybe they were going to go to this sort of degree where it's just like, oh, he's like the rebel version of Darth Vader. He's like been hacked to pieces. He's maybe he's like they're sort of nothing.
Is he the Malcolm X of this rebellion as opposed to the more? What is an extremist in the Rebel Alliance mean? I want to know.
Yeah, let's talk about Alan Tudyk's robot, who is the most entertaining character.
Yes,
He's a highlight.
He gets the best
He's
lines.
fun,
He's
yeah.
a droid. But what is he? Like at the end of the movie, he sacrifices him. It sacrifices itself for the cause, and it's sad because you like that character. But there's this bit where Jin like gives him a gun because earlier he had said, "Well, I don't get a gun," and he gives her a gun. And there's just this moment where he looks at the gun, and you realize the movie thinks this is the conclusion of some sort of storyline for
Emotional
him.
arc, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he always wanted a gun to be human. We never talked about it. We never talked about it, so it doesn't mean as much. It's weird. He's going through the bullet points, but it's not actually filling the gaps.
And you know who wrote this? People who are really good at writing characters.
Yes.
Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
They're great.
Working off of somebody else's story or script or something. There's there's two other credited writers here.
They'd be a seemingly kind of strange fit for each other, given what they are known to do. Like Tony Gilroy does these,
Bourne
like the Bourne
movies.
movies, and it's like bam, 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 and it's espionage and it's terror. And Chris Weitz, I think of him with like
About a Boy,
comedies
yeah,
and softer stuff. But the two of them together never create people who feel real.
And even Gilroy
They keep
wrote.
the pieces moving, though.
Even Gilroy wrote Michael Clayton, which had
Yeah,
interesting,
they directed it.
interesting characters, and this whole sort of like, this idea of how things work, and who's pulling the strings and who controls it. Like he could do a really interesting political, / corporate film that you could apply to the Star Wars universe, and doesn't.
Yeah. We should mention it looks really great. Greg
Yes.
Fraser is the DP. He's an Australian DP who shot Zero Dark 30. So it's a lot of the battle scenes look great.
And there's a sequence that involves like a public courtyard with snipers, and I was like, oh man, this is like Homelander Zero Dark 30 all of a sudden, because it had that sort of Gulf War TV movie feel, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And again, it's like the billboards are all like, it's stormtroopers on the beach, because they kind of figured out, all right, we've done snow and we've done deserts, like what was left, we bled on one last time, so that like where have we not put stormtroopers yet? But yeah, so I thought at least that courtyard sequence at least made it feel like it was resonant, with what's happening right now. Not that the story really is.
I think it's the best looking Star Wars film in a lot of ways. I think the action sequences are mostly really, really cool. But every once in a while, you get the impression that it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's this bit at the end where the rebels are trying to destroy a shield that's protecting a planet, so that they can transmit the Death Star plans out.
Yeah, so because you can build a Death Star, but not the cloud.
No, of course not. But they're trying to destroy this shield, and they keep firing at the energy shield. Like, the shield won't get destroyed. They keep firing next to this big metal thing that's generating the shield. They never try to hit that.
Yeah, no one's shooting at the giant ring that the shield is in.
Like if you played Overwatch, shoot Mercy, not Reinhardt. Mercy's the one making him strong.
Now you boys are just nitpicking.
Okay, I will.
That's weird.
I
That's
will,
gonna be made fun of on Robot Chicken.
And I will say, like, if there's one moment that did feel resonant, and not in the way that like the Trump people can lose their shit over, so everybody calm down. But there is a nice speech toward the end about how even when evil flourishes, all the more reason to like stand up to it and to fight back. Again, though, coming from a character that we've barely gotten to know at this point, so I didn't know where that was coming from either.
Who says that?
Jin, our heroine, says it.
Yeah, and the thing is, I like the idea of the strong young woman like leading the charge, and yet there's not a whole lot to
The idea of that is all we get. I
All
think.
she's got are abandonment issues, basically. That's it. That's all she's working with. You know, this is shot like a war movie. It feels more like a war movie than because the other Star Warses were about rescuing princesses. There was more of a fantasy archetype to it. But you know what I'm not getting from this movie? And I kind of, if we'd had more characters, if we'd had more of their dynamic and more of time for them to interact, I think we would have. I don't know what it's like to feel occupied by the Empire. You notice that? Like, there's no, like, what is it like to be oppressed? Because all I really get out of being oppressed by the Empire is when you're in a public place, occasionally a stormtrooper will say, "What are you doing?" and you have to shoot them. Like, that's all I get out of it. I don't understand why, other than they're building a Death Star, which obviously sucks. What is daily life like? What is it like to be this oppressed when you're not actually in a Star Wars movie?
We get a hint. We get a hint of that at the beginning when they capture Galen and force him to come work on the Death Star. But that's a fleeting thing.
Involved political intrigue.
Yeah. So for the most part, this is a movie I think that exists for super fans to clap when blue milk appears on screen, which happened at the premiere. It's Aunt Beru serves it to Luke in the first, episode 4.
When Evazan shows up. There's a bit where they're just walking down the street, and the two guys that Luke meets at the Mos Eisley Cantina, and Obi-Wan like cuts off one of their hands. It's all fucked up. They're at this other planet, which is about to get blown up in minutes or an hour, whatever. Like it's pretty convenient that they're on this planet, and then they left that planet just in time
to get a drink,
and go off into this other. Like it's. I don't buy it. It feels like a really forced cameo.
It's just there for people to go, oh, hey, those guys.
Same with when you see R2-D2 C-3PO really quickly. It's like, oh, look, there they are, and then nothing.
Not really
What's the point?
important.
That is shameless fan service.
Yeah. Well, I'll say what is not shameless fan service is the scene at the end where Darth Vader goes fucking insane and kills everybody.
The hallway scene?
Holy shit, that scene is great. Whoa. That scene is perfect.
Want. More of that.
Yes, but it takes hours to get there.
Well, what's weird is that we see Ben Mendelsohn's character,
Director Krennic.
Yeah. He goes to see Darth Vader in the middle of the movie, and at first I was like, is this the only thing we're going to see of Darth Vader? Is someone from middle management complaining about their boss to Darth Vader, and then Darth Vader makes a shitty pun and leaves? I was like, Darth Vader makes puns? Did he do that before? When did he ever make puns? Like, I was really not buying it, but then,
He's
man.
humorless.
Yeah, exactly. But then, man, that last scene was so fucking cool.
But the scene where you're talking about when we first see him, though, is really beautiful.
Looks
with
cool.
the shadows and the way the big door comes open, and there he is. All right. So we did our numbers. Anything else you want to add to we're in spoiler town here?
No. I just look. Go back and watch. Before people accuse you of being anti-Star Wars, we reviewed the 7 previous canonical. I know. Bibb says there's more. You know what I mean. And I
count the Ewok movies.
I have affection for these films, and I like a lot of them. This one, I just left me real cold.
Okay, so just to remind you of our numbers from before, I gave it a 6, Alonzo said 5, Bibb said 7.5.
I criticize it because I wanted it to be better. I had a good time watching this movie, just to be clear. It's an entertaining action movie, but that's all it is.
Okay, so our number is 6.2. It's still at 84%. I hope you have not watched this live if you wanted to not know anything.
We told you not to.
He's so sorry.
Thanks, bye.